It's 2005. You're turning 8 years old this year, but your birthday hasn't arrived yet. You're in the living room hugging up the family computer with your best friend on speakerphone on the landline. What are you playing? Old school RuneScape, except that this time, it's just RuneScape. For some of you, I just reached into the back of your mind and pulled out a memory you forgot about. For others, you still play old school RuneScape. And for a few of you, I just introduced you to the game. See, I used to absolutely no life this game as a kid. Although, what else was life back then other than school and video games? That was until one day, I suddenly quit playing. Until last night, nearly 20 years later. You see, last night, I got into a deep conversation with a friend of mine about anything ranging from family to aliens to the Roman Empire. I was too invested and eventually too tired to play any kind of game that required my full attention. Can't have that kind of conversation distracted. Then I remembered I recently updated my Jagex launcher. Yes, there's a launcher. Because I've had the itch to play old school RuneScape but never really got around to making it a new account. Now, this wouldn't be the first time I played RuneScape. I'm 25 now, soon 26, and when I was around 7 or 8 years old, I used to play this game religiously with my best friend at the time. We had memberships and were loyal to Sarah Doman, a specific fact that I forgot about until I wrote this script. I remember one day I asked my dad to renew my $5 membership. This was probably around 2005, so that's a whopping $7.86 in today's money, in case you were wondering. Anyway, after I asked him, he decided to read the terms and conditions and read that the game was for people 13 years or older. Again, I was 7 or 8 at the time, so I absolutely started bawling my eyes out, thinking he wasn't going to let me play anymore. But he did. Thanks, Dad. I say all this to make a point about how much this game really meant to me as a kid. It was a game that strengthened my friendship with my best friend, a game that allowed me to escape into a new world full of characters, other players, and all kinds of monsters. I was so immersed in the game and loved every second of it. But one day, I just didn't. I wouldn't be able to pinpoint the exact moment or reason I quit playing. I just remember one day it was over. I no longer cared about my strength level, or what kind of trees gave the most XP, or even about somehow getting a party hat. Life had changed, and eventually I grew up and didn't think about RuneScape again. I had played other games growing up, most notably Kingdom Hearts 2 and Jak and Daxter, and any similar games I could get my hands on. Very different from RuneScape, I know, but games I also loved. As time went on, and I got older, I always had an itch to return, so one day I decided to log back into my old account. The same account that I had spent so many months grinding in. To my surprise, all my hard work had disappeared. The last memory I had of RuneScape before I stopped playing was that I was trying to accumulate enough money to finally buy an Abyssal Whip, a weapon I always wanted but could never afford. I logged in, and lo and behold, my entire bank account was cleaned out. All I had was some rune armor and random items and weapons. That's when I remembered that at some point near the tail end of my time with RuneScape, I downloaded a bot, dun dun dun, which I assumed had hacked me and cleaned me out. Any urge to continue growing the account had vanished. It was in a weird place where I didn't remember effective ways of making money, and I was too leveled to do the fun stuff like killing monsters with the shitty items I had on me. And even if I did remember how I made money, which I now remember was selling U-logs to the Grand Exchange, I wasn't willing to try to find out if it was still valid, so I logged out and never really got back into the game. As time went on, games got bigger and faster. I played Call of Duty a lot more, and eventually Rainbow Six Siege, and even my favorite narrative-based game, God of War 4, was full of action. I just want to play a peasant simulator MMO anymore. But that itch never fully went away. I tried making a new account, but Tutorial Island was so boring that I logged out again after killing the rats. That brings me to the other night, years after trying to play RuneScape on a new account. The Discord emptied out and it was just me and a friend. We began talking and I was staring at my desktop, trying to find a game to play while we spoke, but finding myself distracted at each one. So I decided to boot up RuneScape. Since I knew how to play the game, I just clicked on wherever the arrow was pointing and skipped the dialogue, barely paying attention. And then I was finally in Lumbridge, an area where I spent a lot of my virtual childhood years in. I got to work and started killing goblins, burying their bones, and looting as much cowhide as I could. Honestly, I don't know why I took so much cowhide, I just thought I remembered a skill needing it. I found myself strategically leveling my abilities. I got attack to level 5, strength to level 5, and I was working on getting defense to level 5 throughout this. I was also chopping down trees, leveling up my woodcutting, and burning logs to level up my fire making. It was during this time I realized something. I was having fun. The studio, you ask me. This game looks like shit and all you do is left click. You're right, but it makes a perfect game for those late night conversations with the boys, and in today's time, and as we get older, those nights come more sparingly than they used to. I was honestly surprised at how much fun I was having while just hanging out in the Discord. I don't know about you, but I often find myself using Discord as a means to talk to my friends and video games as a medium to get us all together. The real fun is talking to the boys after a long day at work. The problem is that a lot of times the games we use are more stressful than our jobs. Looking at you, League. Let's also look at the game itself. Like I mentioned, as we get older and as the gaming world keeps evolving, games are becoming more and more fast-paced and action-filled. And on top of that, we have all these short forms of media that grab our attention 3 seconds at a time. TikTok, Instagram Reels, and YouTube Shorts are all designed to give us brief and effective entertainment. The problem is, they do a really good job. I don't want to digress, so I'll just say that I brought all this up to make the point that our attention span isn't what it used to be. There's a reason that a game like Fortnite, where things are constantly changing and it requires quick reaction time, blew up as quickly as it did. Even live streams are becoming clip farms, and the live streamers themselves focus on being as exaggerated and as shocking as possible. They do this because they know that our attention is not what it used to be even 5 years ago. What does this have to do with RuneScape? I'll tell you. RuneScape is a slow, game. There's no speed running, there's no hacking, there's no easy way to do anything. Even if you want to bot the game, it takes plenty of time to wait it out, which is a big no-no for Jagex, so I don't really recommend doing it. That said, there's plenty of skills to level up, and each one takes hours upon hours to max. This is not what works in the current market. The point of the game is to fight monsters in a way that optimizes your XP farming. Each point of damage you deal gives you 4 XP towards that skill, whether it's attack, strength, or defense that you're leveling. So you want to fight monsters that have the most health while dealing the least amount of damage to you in order to click as little as possible. The game is simple, but mindless. But even with that process, it still takes time. And let's talk about the quests. The quests in RuneScape are these long, drawn-out stories, each one different from the last. They take plenty of reading, plenty of exploring, and plenty of time. You really need patience if you want to complete all of them in the game. And why RuneScape and why not another MMO? Other MMOs, for the most part, require you to pay attention to your active skills, your passive skills, and focus on not dying to other players. Old school RuneScape, however, doesn't really have any abilities other than a possible special attack for a weapon. The only similar thing in RuneScape, at least that comes to mind, is that when fighting other monsters, you might have to switch armor sets or switch weapons mid-battle. But when you look at WoW and people having 5 action bars at once using every single ability, RuneScape is nothing in comparison. The beauty of old school RuneScape is that it relaxes your mind from the constant activity we put it through. It gives you a chance to slow down and recuperate, something that I, a New Jersey native, have never been used to. But I've learned that a game as simple as RuneScape can teach you to chill out. So this brings me back to the other night. What better game to play to have a deep, late-night conversation with a friend than a slow-paced peasant simulator from the early 2000s that barely requires any of your attention and has a huge skill ceiling? This is where RuneScape really shines. With the advent of social media, we're always on go, go, go. So for those of you who have never played RuneScape before, or for those of you who haven't played in a while, RuneScape might be a nice change of pace from all the modern games we have today, to just sit back, relax, and talk to the boys. Anyways, that's just some of my thoughts. Hope everyone has a nice day. Maybe like and subscribe if you like the video. Maybe drop a comment. You know, the YouTube algo needs that juice. Alright, anyways, have a nice day. Peace.